What's the heartbeat of the French culture? I'd say baguettes.
That caught me off guard, but it's interesting. Baguettes, you say?
Absolutely. For them, baguettes embody simplicity, hominess, and perhaps revolution.
Revolution. Is that due to its humbling beginnings?
Indeed, Nari. Baguettes were the bread of the common people, an inexpensive way to provide sustenance during tough times.
They've certainly come a long way from that.
That's right. Although the origin of baguettes can be traced back to simpler times, they became a symbol of French culture over the years. Every nook and cranny of France will have a boulangerie, where the aroma of freshly baked baguettes will always welcome you.
So making a baguette is an intricate process?
It's an art, Nari, and the French take it very seriously. The law even dictates the ingredients used. It simply requires flour, yeast, water, and salt. The beauty lies in the simplicity of the ingredients and the complexity of the process.
So from a simple bread to an integral part of French life, the baguette has quite a journey.
Exactly, Nari. The baguette's journey, just like the journey of French culture itself, is fascinating. Now, who can resist a flaky, buttery croissant in the morning? Trust me, this is the heart of French breakfast.
Certainly not me, Juan. But just how did this layered beauty become synonymous with French pastry? I'm intrigued.
Great question, Nari. The croissant isn't originally French, which may surprise some. Its introduction to France dates back to when Marie Antoinette missed the taste of home, and she picks this Austrian treat to cheer her up.
Who could have imagined the path this recipe took to arrive where it is today?
Indeed, but it didn't become the sophisticated French symbol overnight. As they say, bread is an art to the French, and croissants are no exception. The pastry underwent enormous changes, experimentation here and there, before it finally turned into the French style.
What's so special about this French style?
Typically, croissants are made from a laminated dough composed of yeast, milk, sugar, salt, butter, and flour. However, a true French croissant is a thing of beauty. It is pure, indulgent, and labor-intensive. Each layer of light, airy dough is painstakingly rolled and folded around a stick of high-quality butter, creating a delicate balance of flavors. Then it's left to rise, folded and repeated, resulting in what we know, hundreds of thin, buttery layers ready to puff up into a golden pastry once it hits the oven.
So when you bite into one, you're essentially experiencing the love and effort of a dedicated baker. It's just beautiful.
That's the essence, Nari. The rhythm of rolling, buttering, and folding feeds the soul as much as it does the belly. Each baker has their own unique style, and that's perhaps what makes each croissant so special.
Juan, from the croissant, we're moving on a more savory course, the famously iconic Beef Bourguignon. Unlike our previous discussions, where history and cultural significance were keys, here, the cooking process itself demands our attention.
I am all ears, Nari. I do want to mention, though, that my knowledge about this dish is quite rudimentary. I have dined on Beef Bourguignon, but to actually understand the process can be a savory journey itself.
That's the spirit, Juan. Let's enlist the expertise of Chef Margot Lafleur, who agreed to join us today for this enlightening culinary adventure. Chef Margot, can you walk us through the culinary journey of creating a beef bourguignon?
Certainly. Merci, Nari. Beef bourguignon, originally a peasant's dish, it has evolved over the centuries to be the luxury meal that it is known as today. The ingredients are simple: chuck beef, bacon, onion, carrot, garlic, a bouquet garni, and, of course, red Burgundy wine. But there lies its complexity. It is the combination of these ingredients, slowly simmered for hours, extracting all the flavors. There is something quite magical when the wine and the beef blend, leaving behind a rich, velvety stew, accompanied by the hint of smokiness from the bacon. Simple, yet oh so complex.
So the stew is essentially a symphony of flavors coming together. But Chef, could you dwell upon the bouquet garni part? Most of our listeners, including me, might need some elaboration on it.
Yes. Traditionally, bouquet garni is bundle of herbs, like thyme, rosemary, and bay leaf, tied together. It gives the beef bourguignon some delicate, earthy flavors. You slowly simmer it with the rest, then remove before serving, similar to a tea bag.
Chef Margot, a big merci for joining us today and enlightening us and our listeners about this iconic dish. I'm sure Juan here is all motivated to try his hands on cooking as well.
Well, Nari, I can't promise a gourmet outcome, but I sure am tempted to give it a try someday. It was a real honor and a wonderful learning experience, Chef Margot. Thank you. Since we're talking about classic French dishes, we can't skip the famous escargot, Nari.
Snails, isn't it?
Yes, indeed, snails, or more accurately, escargot de Bourgogne. These are not your garden variety snails, no pun intended. They're a particular species known as the Burgundy snail, renowned for their taste.
Snails as food is pretty alien to me. How do the French transform them into gourmet eats?
Well, it's quite intricate, Nari. These snails are usually purged and prepared in a court bouillon, a flavorful and aromatic broth. Afterward, they're extracted from their shells, and a mixture of garlic, parsley, and butter is tucked inside before they're baked.
Garlic, parsley, and butter. That's a classic blend of flavors right there. But Juan, what's the historical context behind this dish? Why snails?
That's a fascinating story, Nari. Snails as food date back to prehistoric times. Archaeologists have found ancient Romanian snail shells that suggest prehistoric people were enjoying these little mollusks, but it was the Romans who first considered them a fine dish and farmed them, much like oysters. The French, it seems, have simply carried on the tradition.
That's an incredible journey from prehistoric food to a reputed French delicacy. What would a first-time escargot eater expect?
The texture of escargots is similar to mushrooms, chewy and tender. The taste is quite mild, a delicate balance between earthy and nutty, which is further enhanced by the buttery, garlicky dressing. It's a quintessential French dining experience. Yes, the Parisians' love for fresh produce stretches to the iconic food markets like Marché Bastille, the largest open-air market in Paris. Imagine rows of vendors, offering everything from fresh fish, meat, to locally sourced fruits and vegetables.
Sounds like a paradise for someone who values fresh produce. Is there anything else a first-time visitor should know or try at Marché Bastille?
Yes, visitors will be pleasantly surprised by the variety of fresh baked goods, cheeses and olives, along with the enticing smell of herbs and spices that fill the air. However, what sets these markets apart is their emphasis on quality. Only the best products find their way into the stalls, and it's not just the food. The lively banter and gregarious exchanges offer a window into the Parisian way of life.
While we're on the subject of Parisian eateries, aren't brasseries a significant part of the dining culture?
Exactly, Nari. Brasseries have defined Parisian food culture in their own way. Originating as taverns serving brews, they morphed into grand establishments, offering a wide array of traditional French dishes. The dynamic environment of a brasserie, menu changes from morning to night adding to their charm.
Interesting how these brasseries evolved. So what should one expect when dining at a typical Parisian brasserie?
Well, Nari, set against an ornate backdrop with echoes of Art Nouveau architecture, one can enjoy a mix of comfort food and gourmet classics throughout the day. Imagine savoring escargot or steak tartare paired with a carafe of house wine or local beer. Traditional, welcoming, and undeniably French, a visit to a brasserie offers a slice of Parisian joie de vivre.
Dining at a typical Parisian brasserie, Juan, can feel like stepping back in time. These establishments, often adorned with ornate, Art Nouveau facades, have a timeless charm that is hard to ignore.
That's so evocative, Nari. One cannot possibly imagine all that goes behind creating such a nostalgic ambience. I mean, what sets a brasserie apart from other eateries?
Certainly. You can say it blends the line between a cafe and a restaurant. While it serves coffee and pastries in the morning, as the day progresses, one can expect a menu filling up with traditional French dishes, going from light to heavy.
A single place catering to the changing palates throughout the day. Sounds like a culinary voyage in itself. What should one ideally order?
Well, no one brasserie is like the other. The menus reflect the subtle flavors and ingredients native to their regions. But a safe bet would be to start with escargots or steak frites, accompanied by a local wine or beer.
Wow, I can almost taste the sizzled steak and the boxy scent of red wine. And what's the scene like, Nari?
Oh, the environment is quite dynamic. You'd notice a mix of local Parisians catching up over a meal, tourists sampling French delicacies to the tune of light chatter and clinking glasses. And not to forget, the servers swiftly moving about, their trays piled high, contributing to the lively atmosphere.
So, Nari, have you noticed how central coffee is to the Parisian lifestyle?
Totally, Juan. Whether enjoying a morning croissant or relaxing post-dinner, you would always see a coffee cup in a Parisian's hand.
Exactly, imagine this. It's a crisp winter morning, the corners of cafes bustling, soft steam rising from small cups of coffee, giving off an aromatic cocoa scent. That's the coffee culture in Paris.
It's like the city wakes up with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee. But Juan, what's the origin of this coffee culture?
The story is as rich as the drink itself. Coffee made its way to Paris in the 17th century, brought by a Turkish ambassador. But it was really in the 18th century that the coffee culture took off, with the advent of cafes as a space for intellectual discussions, nurturing Enlightenment thinkers like Voltaire, Rousseau.
That sounds fascinating. So, these coffee houses were more than just a place to drink coffee?
Absolutely, Nari. Cafes were and still are spaces for socialization and exchange of ideas. As for the coffee itself, French preparation is quite unique. They prefer dark roasted beans, resulting in stronger, full-bodied coffee.
So, could it be said that brewing a cup of coffee in Paris isn't just preparing a beverage, but cherishing a rich history?
A history grounded in a cup of coffee. I love that thought, Nari.
Well, Juan, let's nestle into a different side of French coffee culture. Ever heard of terrace culture?
Terrace culture? Can't say I'm entirely aware, Nari. Would you illuminate it for me?
So picture this, Juan. It's a sunny afternoon in Paris. The streets are alive with the hum of life. Sidewalks brim with café terraces, fresh pastries, and a sight that might surprise many. People just sitting, enjoying their coffee leisurely, watching the world go by. Yes, Juan, time seems to slow down in these Parisian outdoor cafes. The terrace culture is about indulging in the simple pleasures of life, fostering camaraderie and the warmth of togetherness.
Nari, that sounds magical. You've painted such a vivid picture. I can almost smell the freshly ground coffee and hear the distant murmur of conversations. It's lovely how coffee and togetherness find such a potent brew in Paris. What's this I hear about café au lait?
Café au lait. It's a traditional French offering of dark, aromatic, sometimes robust coffee mixed with hot milk. It's not just a morning ritual, but a symbol of the relaxed Parisian lifestyle. The name café au lait itself translates to coffee with milk, a heady combination of robust coffee and smooth milk providing a kickstart to the day, but also a comforting hug in a cup, perfect for the soft, mellow Parisian afternoons. It seems less of a drink and more of a lifestyle statement, don't you think, Juan?
Absolutely, Nari. What's interesting is how these rituals of society are much more than that. They are beautiful reflections of the city's lifestyle. From what you've described, café au lait seems to me to be a potent symbol of comfort, warmth, and a bold readiness to face the day. It's amazing how every aspect of Parisian culture celebrates the joy of good company, good conversation, and really, the joy of living itself.
Juan, the name Auguste Escoffier rings any bell?
I heard of him. Didn't he play a pivotal role in forming French culinary arts?
Hit the bullseye, Juan. King of chefs and chef of kings they called Escoffier. He revolutionized French cooking by introducing techniques and recipes that are still revered today.
Interesting, Nari. You mean to say the mouth-watering French cuisine we savor today has a lot to be credited to one man's genius?
Exactly, Juan. Escoffier simplified and modernized traditional French cooking methods. His focus was on using fewer ingredients, but he would not compromise on taste or presentation. His culinary philosophy of making food simple, but delectable, played a substantial role in the evolution of French cuisine.
Actually, didn't he organize the kitchen as well? What are they called? The kitchen brigade system.
You're quite informed, Juan. Respect. Yes, the kitchen brigade, or as the French say, brigade de cuisine, was indeed introduced by Escoffier. This system organized kitchen staff into various positions, each with specific responsibilities, ensuring efficiency and consistency.
That's quite an achievement. And his contribution extends to writing cookbooks as well, am I right?
Right you are, Juan. His culinary Bible, Le Guide Culinaire, has been an indispensable read for generations of aspiring chefs. Packed with over 5,000 recipes, it is a testament to his profound impact on the food scene, not just in Paris, but globally.
Wow, for one man to influence countless kitchens around the world, that's incredible. So, Nari, you know how we all have this image of a French meal being an elaborate affair?
Yes, Juan, multiple courses, fancy table settings, wine, cheese, the works, right?
Correct, but do you know what makes a traditional French meal unique?
Well, I'm not entirely sure of all the details. Why don't you enlighten us, Juan?
Well, the structure is truly intriguing. The meal begins with an aperitif, a pre-dinner drink, traditionally a light, crisp beverage to awaken the taste buds. The next course, entrée, can be a playful soup or a tender salad. The main course, plat principal, follows usually a hearty dish of meat or fish. There's a cheese course which serves as a bridge to dessert. Now that's a meal.
Sounds like a gustatory treat, but what's the rationale behind this structure?
Well, it's not just about appreciating a variety of tastes and textures. Each course serves a function. The entrée is meant to stimulate the appetite, the plat principal to satiate, while the fromage course aids digestion, and we all know the dessert seals the gastronomical journey on a sweet note. It's a harmonious symphony, really.
Wow, it seems there's an art even to eating food in France.
Absolutely, Nari. And this fine art of French gastronomy was declared a World Intangible Heritage by UNESCO in 2010. Isn't that fascinating?
That is indeed remarkable, Juan. French gastronomy isn't just about food, it's a beautiful melodic celebration of life itself. Juan, have you ever wondered why cheese is an integral part of a French meal?
Well, Nari, I guess that pairing food and drink is an art form in itself. In the case of cheese, its diverse textures and flavors can bring out unique aspects in each sip of wine.
Exactly. Drinking wine with cheese is not just a habit, it's a tradition, even a ritual in France. The key to pairing wine and cheese, much like any culinary combination, lies in balance. The flavors should neither overpower nor underwhelm each other.
So it's more complex than just grabbing any cheese and any bottle of wine. Are there any pairing rules or guidelines one should follow?
Indeed, there are a few basic rules that even expert sommeliers adhere to. One simple rule of thumb is that the intensity of the wine and cheese should be in harmony. Strong flavored cheese pairs well with robust wines, while milder cheese requires a lighter, perhaps fruity wine.
Interesting. I didn't know it was that nuanced. Any suggestions on how one could get started with this pairing journey?
There's a vast array of cheese and wines to pick from, but a good start for beginners could be to go regional. Cheese and wines from the same region typically pair well. For instance, Brie, a soft cheese from the Brie region, is known to pair excellently with an elegant Pinot Noir from Burgundy.
That's a wonderful tip, and it makes sense, doesn't it? Can't wait to try it out. Okay, Nari, let's move on from cheese. French wine, it's a world of its own, don't you think?
Oh, definitely. Wine is at the heart of French culture. But I'm curious, Juan, what's the story behind these wines?
Our French wine, the nectar of the gods. Its history dates back to 6th century BC, and you'll find it at the center of many a legend. But what makes it special are the various regions it comes from, each having their own exquisite characteristics. Bordeaux, Burgundy, Champagne, to name a few.
That's absolutely fascinating, but it also sounds complicated. How does one even choose?
Fair question. That's exactly where the role of sommelier come in. They are like navigators in the expansive sea of French wines. Whether it's helping you to select the right wine for your palate or pairing it flawlessly with food, they're your go-to experts. But at the end of the day, all that truly matters is that you enjoy your drink.
And isn't there a certain etiquette when it comes to drinking wine?
Indeed, there's this elegant tranquility in the way the French savor their wines. A toast to start with santé, the gentle swirl to release the aromas, a small sip to embrace the flavors, respecting the temperature at which the wine should be served. It's all part of a harmonious ritual.
Sounds like an experience in itself.
That's just it, Nari. French wine is not just a beverage, it's an experience. It's a testament to the French way of life. To be savored, enjoyed, and forever cherished. Isn't that beautiful?
You know, Juan, talking about all these savory dishes and wines has left us with a lingering sweet tooth. Let's dive into some quintessentially Parisian treats. starting with macarons.
Ah, the macaron, a dessert as iconic as the Eiffel Tower itself. Nari, what makes this so special?
Each macaron is an artwork, Juan, a masterpiece of delicate balance. The crispy outer shell gives way to a tender, sometimes chewy inner core, sandwiched around a rich, flavorful filling. But it's more than just the taste. The array of vibrant colors, the gentle crunch as you bite in, it's an experience.
So true, Nari. Paris wouldn't be Paris without a colourful array of macarons brightening up shop windows. But this isn't the only sweet delight that Paris is famous for, is it?
Absolutely not. Another dessert that perfectly captures the French love for indulgence is the crème brûlée. It's simple, yet so complex with its velvet cream and caramelized sugar top. The satisfaction of cracking through the sugar to get to the cream, that's nothing short of sublime.
You're painting quite a picture, Nari. It seems like these desserts carry their own personality and symbolism, a reflection of its creator's passion and the city's love for beautiful things.
Rightly said, Juan. Paris is a city that appreciates the artistry in each bite. When you're savoring these desserts, you're not merely indulging your sweet tooth. You are participating in a long-standing tradition of gustatory appreciation. These delectable delights truly reflect the heart and soul of Paris.
So, Nari, after going through all these delectable dishes, desserts and wines, it's probably important to discuss some Parisian food etiquette, don't you think?
Oh, certainly, Juan. As we know, in any place, the way one eats can say a lot about a culture. So tell us, what should someone keep in mind while dining in Paris?
Well, Nari, bread plays an essential part in a French meal. Unlike in many cultures where it's part of the main course or a side, in French cuisine, bread isn't a course of its own. You'll often find it placed directly on the table, and it's used to mop up the tasty sauce or the remaining food on your plate.
That's interesting. And would I be right to assume that wine also holds considerable importance in a French meal?
Definitely. As we discussed before, wine is a vital part of French meal culture, but what is interesting is that each type of wine is paired with a specific course. For instance, white wine often accompanies the fish, while red wine is common with meat. And of course, let's not forget the champagne during celebrations.
Yes, the passion for wine in this city is truly remarkable. But besides food and wine, is there anything else distinctive about dining etiquette in Paris that our listeners should know?
As you might have noticed, Nari, the French don't rush their meals. A meal in Paris is like a symphony, enjoyed one note at a time. It's very common for meals to stretch between 1.5 to 2 hours, allowing everyone to enjoy each course and partake in jovial conversation. Also, the table manners here involve many small things like keeping your hands on the table, but not elbows, not pouring wine for yourself, and so on.
Indeed, leisurely might be an appropriate word to describe the Parisians' approach to dining. But tell me, Juan, I've heard something about a bisous greeting.
Ah, yes, the quintessential French greeting. In Paris, it's common to greet friends with a kiss on each cheek. But don't worry, these are not actual kisses. Rather, you touch cheeks and make a kissing sound. Consider it a warm, familiar hello among friends.
Since we've touched upon etiquette, let's also understand a significant part of French meals. Ever heard of apéritif and digestif, Juan?
Apéritif I've brushed upon, but I'm not exactly sure. And digestif, to be honest, I don't really know.
Apéritif is like a pre-dinner drink meant to stimulate your appetite. Think of it as a warm-up before embarking on the gastronomic journey that is a French meal. It could be anything from a simple glass of champagne to an assortment of beverages.
Stimulate your appetite. Interesting, I can kind of see that. Starting with lighter drinks and building up. But then how does digestif fit into this?
Well, quite rightly, if apéritif is meant to stimulate your appetite, digestif understandably aids digestion. Therefore, it's typically strong. An Armagnac or a cognac, perhaps. It's served after the meal, allowing you to unwind and enjoy the lingering flavors from the meal.
Oh, I see. Sort of like a bookend to the whole dining experience. From anticipation to digestion, it says a lot about how much the French value their meals.
Absolutely. Juan, through this journey, we've lived the Parisian food experience right from their kitchens, felt the bustling brasseries, tasted the decadent dishes, sipped on iconic wines, and understood unique dining etiquettes. Hopefully, we were able to make our listeners hungrier for even more exploration of this vibrant culinary world.